Welcome to 5 Good Minutes.
You're listening to today's inspirational message, looking at the Messianic Psalms with Kurt Bjorklund.
Psalm 22 is a messianic psalm, and the idea of the Messiah isn't just one who suffers, but it's one who has victory. And we saw a little bit of that yesterday as the General Assembly comes together and prays, but I want you to see something else. In verse 27 of Psalm 22, it says, "All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to him, and all the families of the nations will bow before him, for dominion belongs to the Lord, and he rules over the nations." I have a book in my library by C.H. Spurgeon, who's considered one of the great preachers of ever. And he wrote a book called The Treasury of David, where he basically comments on each verse of the Psalms himself. And then from his books, he takes and he puts these lengthy quotes in that are really old, but sometimes these things from another generation are really good to read. And I just want to read you one that comes from Andrew Fuller that is in his commentary. This will be a little wordy, a little tough, but I think if you stay with it for 4 minutes, you will find some benefit. This passage, speaking of verse 27, is a prediction of the conversion of the Gentiles. It furnishes us with two interesting ideas: the nature of true conversion and the extent of it under the reign of the Messiah. The nature of true conversion: it is to remember and to turn to the Lord and to worship him. This is a plain and simple process. Perhaps the first religious exercise of mind of which we are conscious is reflection. A state of urgency is a state of unregeneracy, is a state of forgetfulness. God is forgotten. Sinners have lost all just sense of his glory, authority, mercy, and judgment, living as if there were no God, or as if they thought there was none. But if ever we are brought to be subjects of true conversion, we shall be brought to remember these things. This divine change is fitly expressed by the case of the prodigal, who is said to have come to himself or to his right mind. But further, true conversion consists not only in remembering but turning to the Lord. This part of the passage is expressive of a cordial relinquishment of our idols, whatever they have been, an acquiescence in the gospel way of salvation by Christ alone. Once more, true conversion of Christ will be accompanied with the worship of him. Worship as a religious exercise in the homage of the heart presented to God according to his revealed will. And then he talks about the extent of conversion under the kingdom or the reign of the Messiah. Again, just quoting these words: "All the ends of the world shall remember and turn to the Lord, and all the kindreds of the nations shall worship him." It's an old King James. And here's what he says: "It was fit that the ascension of the Gentiles should be reserved for the gospel day, that it might grace the triumph of Christ over his enemies and appear to be what it is, the travail of his soul. The great good work began in the apostles' day must go on and must increase till all the ends of the world will remember and turn. Conversion work, thus, has been individual. God has gathered sinners one by one. Thus, it is at present with us, but it will not thus always. People will flock to Zion as droves to their windows. Further conversion work has hitherto been circumscribed within certain parts of the world, but the time will come when all the kindreds or all the people of the earth shall worship. These hopes are not the flight of an ardent imagination. They are founded on the true sayings of God. Finally, while we are concerned for the world, let us not forget our own souls, so the whole world be saved and we be lost. That will avail us nothing." Now that, again, is a lengthy quote, but I just love the reminder here that the victory of the cross is not simply the victory of looking to the past and saying Jesus did something and you can escape into some personal heaven, but it is a global reckoning of who God is. And one day, regardless of your view of the future and eschatology, it does end with the worldwide domination and reign of Jesus Christ. And this psalm reminds us of it and calls us to live with hope and expectation and gladness, because this is not the end of the story. I love how Billy Graham once said it very simply. He said, I don't know much about eschatology, which is the study of last things, but he said, I know this: we win in the end. We win in the end. And that's a reason for hope and joy.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.